this.
That's very true.
The work session of December 17th for the Glynn County Board of Education is 5:01, and we'll get started. I will turn the meeting over to Dr. Pence for items of information.
Thank you. We'll start with Ms. Cody and the October financial update.
Great, so we had 4 budget amendments in October. We had a $100 increase to record additional CTAE funds, an $1,100 decrease to the residential treatment facility grant, a $43,600 decrease to the math and science supplement grant, and finally a $114,000 increase to the state-funded custodian supplement. The state awarded this grant to provide our custodians with a $1,000 supplement, which we will pay in January. Then moving on to the general fund. You can see that our total revenues are at 23.4%. That percentage is going to go up drastically as we receive our property tax revenues in November and December. We are a third of the way through the year, and our expenditures are at 28.8%, which is right in line with where we have been the last few years at this time.
Any questions for Ms. Cody?
So I'll move on to the investments quickly. In October, we earned interest in the amount of $515,486.80.
Any questions? All right, we'll move on to Dr. Nelson with a strategic plan review.
So good evening. Tonight we're going to review our 5 strategic goal areas, which are aligned with Georgia's Systems of Continuous Improvement Framework. And there's 8 initiatives that were updated since our last strategic plan review in September. And those are what we're going to take a look at this evening. Okay. So we'll begin first with effective leadership, which promotes and supports successful, positive student performance and system effectiveness. There are 2 initiatives here in the strategic goal area that had a change in status. They're listed here. The first initiative is review available data summaries during school monitoring progress. Our status is now complete. In September, this initiative was not started. District leadership teams conducted first quarter progress monitoring visits at all schools during October. And during these visits, district staff reviewed assessment data with the school administration. The next initiative is discuss growth summary data from MAP and Beacon, which is middle and high school, with school teams and adjustments to school initiatives in response to the data. And our status is now complete. The last time we met to review our strategic plan in September, this initiative was also in not started status. Secondary schools have used this data to change student groups, for example, flex remediation and enrichment groups, and to adjust student schedules. We're going to move to strategic goal 2, coherent instructional systems, which really looks at the how and the what of instruction, how we utilize curriculum, instructional design, and assessment practices. And there's only one initiative in this goal area with a status change. Prepare for implementation of new ELA standards and assessments K-12. Our status is now complete. In September, it was in progress. Professional learning sessions have already taken place within the district, with additional professional learning scheduled for January, February, and March as a part of our standards rollout for teachers. These sessions will cover the remaining language and practice domains and subsequent big ideas associated with each category. From the middle of March to the beginning of May, a core team of teachers will work to update curriculum maps and pacing guides, so teachers will have a final document and plan in place when they leave for summer break. The new ELA standards have been implemented at the high school level during the current school year, 24-25. High school English departments discuss the process, assessment changes, and additional resources in their department meetings. Strategic goal 3, supportive learning environment. This one focuses on creating a positive school and district culture for students, families, and employees. There are 3 initiatives in this goal area to review. Review cohort graduation progress data during school monitoring visits. You can see this status is now in progress. In September, it was not started. District leadership teams conducted first quarter progress monitoring visits at both high schools in October. During these visits, district staff reviewed the 2024 graduation data with school administration. During this data review, the group looked at overall graduation rate, the 4-year rate, the 5-year rate, the state average, as well as how each high school compared to other high schools in our RESA. Additionally, the district reviewed the high school's 2025 cohort graduation data, including strategies implemented to ensure that all students graduate on time. And I believe Mr. Benson is going to share a little bit of that data with you here tonight. The next initiative, provide training to school counselors on the use of data and the school counseling model to support the needs of students. That status is now complete. In September, that indicator was in progress. School counselors are provided with ongoing professional development on the use of time within a comprehensive counseling program. School counselors began training in August 2024, with additional training taking place in October 2024. Use of data tools are being used throughout the year, such as use of time, CSSRS collection, bridge, climate surveys, and school engagement surveys, which are used to measure the effectiveness of their program and how needs are addressed through the counseling program. And the last initiative in the supportive learning environment, institute a train-the-trainer model for mindset and crisis teams at each school. This is now complete, and our status in September was in progress. District leadership participated in a train-the-trainer style training that took place May 31st through June 2nd, 2024, in order to develop a team of trainers at each building. District staff were also trained so that ongoing professional learning could be provided for new staff in the district. Upcoming training for all paraprofessionals is scheduled for January 6th and 7th, 2025. In August, district leadership provided professional learning for all school administrators on de-escalation strategies for mindset and required all schools to create crisis teams and crisis plans for their schools. Plans were submitted August 31st, 2024. And you'll notice as we scroll through that we're skipping from goal 3 to goal 5. There's no slide for goal 4, family and community engagement. The purpose of family and community engagement is to support student success through collaboration and communication with families in the community. All of the indicators in that goal area are already in progress, and there were no changes between September and December. So in our final strategic goal area, number 5, professional capacity, which reflects our ability to attract, develop, and retain professionally qualified staff and to ensure collaboration, we have 2 initiatives that have changed status. Both of those were previously not started, mostly because of timing. The first is to involve Teacher of the Year representatives from each school in the superintendent's teacher advisory group. And of course, we just had our Teacher of the Year celebration. So these meetings are held at the Board of Education in the months designated throughout the year. The Teacher of the Year from each school discusses items with the cabinet in a small group setting. And this initiative will remain in progress until the last meeting is held in the spring of the year. And then our last initiative, repeat school visits with Cabinet to meet with school staff to provide two-way communication. So this fall, Cabinet members attended schools. They went out to the schools to discuss staff concerns directly. During these meetings, district leaders discussed safety and security measures, teacher and staff salaries, and the launch of classroom cameras. District and Cabinet staff also answered questions from school faculty and staff on various topics. This initiative will also remain in progress until the final school visits are held with the Cabinet in the spring. And so those are all of our updates from September through now, all the status changes that we've had in our strategic plan. Does anybody have any questions about the strategic plan, where we're heading?
I do have, I think, a quick question. So just for instance, in Goal 1, Effective Leadership, one of the first initiative was to review available data summaries during school monitoring process. So we monitor in the spring semester too. It's marked complete, but that just means the process of doing this is complete.
Right.
So that
It will continue.
Continue. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Each principal, and Mr. Benson and Ms. Miller could probably speak to this probably a little more eloquently than I can, but each school, they go out multiple times throughout the year.
Yeah.
The principals, 3 times, the principals receive a list of questions ahead of time, the data they're going to review, so there's no surprises when they get there, and they review that with the principal, the admin team, and whoever else the principal pulls in.
Okay, thank you. That's what I thought, that it was
Yes.
just the process of
The process.
getting that procedure.
Yes,
in
the procedure in place and the plans for the year have been developed.
Yeah, thank you. That was helpful.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Dr. Nelson?
Our strategic plan is updated monthly, and it's on our website, but I'll see you guys again in February.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next, we will have our online student registration. Ms. Miller and Mr. Benson. Let me also say, while they're pulling that up, we're trying to go as paperless as possible. And when we finally do get our new program in place for HR and for finance, then we will begin the process of making that as paperless as possible. So this is one of the early parts. Go ahead.
Good evening, everyone. On the heels of Dr. Nelson's presentation, one of our goals in the strategic plan says to improve system effectiveness through the use of technology and digital tools. And that's exactly what we're trying to do with a paperless registration system. Recently, several district leaders did meet with a representative from K-12 Solutions to explore the idea of going with a paperless registration. During the presentation, we heard from, I think, several benefits of going this route. When individuals come in to register a child, that person that's coming to register does all of the inputting. So they begin the process. They'll get an electronic link where they will begin to enter the demographic data. So from our central registration standpoint, those individuals, the amount of data entry that they'll have to do will be cut down because individuals coming in to register will be manually already putting that data in. So from an effectiveness standpoint, you're saving time and energy right off the bat. One of the things that we liked in the presentation was that when that information's entered, for instance, a student's home address, it automatically assigns that student a home school. So based upon our school zones, that student will be assigned, so that decision-making will come out. If that student is a student who served for a student with a disability, an English language learner, those types of services, individuals at our district office will receive an email saying a new student has registered, so we kind of put that individual on the radar immediately so that they know to begin looking for whether it be an IEP document or the other information that we need to be able to best serve those individuals. We have explored how the paperless registration can occur. It can be done on a person's cell phone. It can be done on a desktop computer, or the way we've elected, we've purchased 5 iPads for central registration so that individuals can just be putting that data in on a tablet. We would like to begin this process as part of our pre-K and kindergarten registration coming up in the new year, and be happy to answer any questions here tonight.
How do you handle like document uploads and stuff like that, and proof of residencies and all that kind of stuff?
When they come into central registration, they will have to bring the physical proof of residence and the physical photo ID. Those 2 documents have to be shown in person. But other than that, they just simply scan, like the birth certificate, they can take a picture with
Picture of
their
it,
phone,
scan
it
it,
scans
yeah.
it up in there. However, if the copies are not clear, or if they think there's been
Rejected.
any manipulation with the documents, then central registration will ask for a hard copy of that document at that time.
And all that is stored in our Infinite Campus system.
This is really just an add-on to Infinite Campus, so it's just a piece that we're adding on there. And it also will help take the place of the back-to-school paperwork that all parents have to fill out. They'll be able to fill it out in this same platform. Instead of going through
Back-to-school
Parent Square
paperwork.
like we did, you'll be able to fill this out, and it'll have a lot of it pre-populated already for you, so you don't have to continue to write every child's name out and birthday and all that. So hopefully that will help.
About 6 years
some.
late.
Maybe 12. We're getting there. We're gonna get to 2010 pretty soon.
But it's nothing really that you all have to approve. We just wanted to let you know that it is coming because you know, the public will be calling.
Can you fully register online from the house and never come to central registration? You
have
can't get
to-
it from Link, like at the hospital or DMV or something, you upload your documents at home and it's all done, okay?
Any other questions? Staying with the same two, we will review our 2023-24 CCRPI data.
So while he's pulling that up, on your tables, you have kind of an overview of the CCRPI components and how those components are calculated. Mr.
It's right here.
Benson's gonna kind of go through that as well. And then you also have a rainbow colored sheet that's not attached to the PowerPoint, but that shows more individualized scores per school. But we're gonna hit some highlights for you tonight.
This is all available on the website, the Georgia Department of Education website.
So we wanted to first start with the indicators, and as you can see from the sheet that you've been provided, there are 4 indicators at the elementary and middle school level. Content mastery is worth 30% at all 3 levels, elementary, middle, and high. Progress has a 5% decrease at the high school level and a 5% decrease for closing gaps in readiness to account for the 15% that you see with graduation rate. So as we kind of work through these different indicators and share some data, we thought it would be helpful for you to just have an understanding first and foremost about what do these 5 terms mean in regards to CCRPI.
All right, so just some elementary highlights, and I'm not gonna read the slides for you, but I did wanna cover some highlights that we are very proud of in elementary. We did score in the top 5 within our first district RESA in all areas, so out of 17 systems, in all of those CCRPI areas, we did score in the top 5. 6 of our schools have either met or exceeded their overall 2019 CCRPI score. And if you remember, back in 2019, they awarded each system an overall score, and each school got an overall score. They don't really give an overall score anymore. However, for comparison purposes, we were able to figure the formula for that and still give our schools a pseudo score. So we did that in order to share that with y'all, that we do have 6 schools who have already either met or exceeded, and 4 who are coming close behind, which 3 of those are within that margin of error, so they're not that far behind. And
You're
you
gonna
can
see the comparison in 2019 and 2024 because 2019 was the last CCRPI score prior to COVID.
And then moving along, so our first area, our content mastery area, out of all areas of CCRPI, this is probably one of the most difficult needles to move when you're in a school. This score is based on student achievement and the mastery of grade level standards, and it also includes not just milestone scores, but it also includes your GAA scores, which are your alternative assessment scores that some of your students who are served with IEPs are included in that as well. All 10 of our elementary schools saw positive growth in ELA and reading, and we attribute that to our teachers and leaders really embracing the new literacy program that we adopted. 3 years ago, as well as digging into our state standards and making sure we're providing instruction with fidelity in reading and implementing small groups. So some notable gains in math we saw at several schools, including 10-point gain at Goodyear. And that was with new math standards last year. So we were very proud of those gains that we saw in math, as well as the ones in literacy. Several schools even saw 10 to 20-point gains across the board with reading, math, and/or science. So we were super proud of that. For content mastery portion of CCRPI for elementary, we scored above the state, scoring 70.5 when the state average was a 67.8. And the next areas are closing gaps in progress. So the closing gaps, we scored a slight bit below the state. The state average was 100, and our closing gap district average was a 97.1. So the way closing gaps is figured, each school has subgroups, and those subgroups of students all have a different performance target that they have to meet. And those performance targets, they're awarded certain points. They're awarded 1.5 points for every level 4 that they have. They're awarded 1 point for every level 3. They're awarded 0.5 for every level 2, and then 0, of course, for every level 1. So then there's a formula they toss those numbers into, and each subgroup should show a 3% gain each year. And so for the most part, all of our schools met that closing gaps. We still do have some subgroups that that we need to look at more deeper level and target. This past year, we experienced an influx of a certain subgroup, and so we kind of had to revamp about December of last year and say, hey, hold on, we've got to provide more staff. We need to come in and get a new program and some new things in place for these teachers to prepare them to be able to work with students, with the needs that we were seeing. So that 3% gain for each subgroup each year is a moving target. So you may hit it one year, and last year we had several elementary schools that scored 100. So they had 3% better, so this year will be 3% better than we were now, so. And then comparing our students, as far as progress goes, in the other box, comparing our students to their academically similar peers around the state. This is when they take our scores and they look at our gifted kids and compare them to other gifted kids around the state. They may take our students served with IEPs and compare them with other students around the state. And you can see that we are performing very well compared to students who are with their like peers around the state, their academically similar peers. So we continue to perform very well above the state in that area. And this next slide just kind of shows you a visual of that progress, of that growth data. And if you're looking on there, if you're above the horizontal line, it represents achievement. You're above that 50th percent for achievement. So we're really proud that all of our elementary schools are above that 50% line for achievement right now. And then moving to the right of the vertical line represents the growth that our schools have made. So we saw tremendous growth, again, attributing that to working in small groups with our students and really hitting the individual needs of them. So that's our ELA growth. Eventually, you want everybody to be in that upper right-hand quadrant, which would be high achievement and high growth. And then this is the same progress bubbles for math. And schools have this data too, and they can dig down into it at the teacher level, so the teachers can actually see how they compare to other teachers in their building or to other math teachers around our district or around the state. So we can go out and see, hey, I see this county's doing, making a lot more growth than we are. Let's go find out what they're doing. So this is really a helpful tool for teachers as well as administrators. And then as far as readiness goes, our literacy rate has improved, I'm proud to say, in 2019 from 57.2 to a 71.22. And that literacy rate is calculated using Lexile levels. So each grade level has a Lexile level band. And if students are performing within that band for reading ELA, then they're considered on grade level. And so, like I said, we've had great gains with our Lexile levels and with our literacy rate showing that improvement. Beyond the core, that's our specials classes, like our PE, art, and music classes, and making sure our students are scoring and passing those special level classes. So that's what that score consists of, and we were 100 across the board in that. And then student attendance. That is one area where we are, it's challenging for us in elementary school. We have some good things in place, starting to work with the state court now once a month to try to encourage parents and help parents if they're having difficulties at home. We want to assist them, and the state court wants to assist them as well. But that's an area that the state has recently reinserted back into CCRPI since COVID. It used to be, prior to COVID, it was part of accountability, and now it's back. So we were at 84.46, so students have to be in school at least 90% of the year to be counted, and the state doesn't care if it's an excused absence or an unexcused absence. So the law only looks at unexcused absences, but the state looks at any absence. So the more we can have our kids in school, the better. So just looking overall for CCRPI at the elementary level, we continue to see an increase in scores in all areas except for that slight dip with closing gaps. I do look for that to be back up next year. And I'd like to say, so our overall score now is 86.8 for elementary schools, which is up a little bit from where we were in 2019 prior to COVID. And I'd be remiss if I didn't acknowledge you all for your support with all of our elementary programming, and especially acknowledging our teachers that are in the classroom, our parents, students, and administrators that help get us where we are now. So, any questions about elementary?
Yeah, so how many, I remember from before, and then we talked about subgroups for a long time, right? How many subgroups are there now?
There could be a possible 7 subgroups.
Okay.
Not every school has every subgroup.
Right, sure. So I noticed, and the scores overall are great, and I'm thrilled with a lot of the stuff, but I always look at like anomalies, you know, crazy gains and crazy decreases, kind of, especially with the gaps, with the closing gaps. I understand if there's one subgroup, but it seems, and I don't know the numbers, I don't know how this is all rolled up, I don't know the formulas, but it seems like if you had that big of a dip in closing gaps, that you would see the same sort of dip in like readiness, because the same subgroup kids are taking the reading test. So it's pretty flat across the readiness scale, and is most of that reading, or is that everything kind of rolled into one?
The readiness is just your Lexile rate, really.
Just
That's the
Lexile.
only part that deals with reading.
But that's overall, it doesn't look at subgroups. So when you're looking at closing gaps, does it take those, if you have all 7 subgroups, everybody scores 100 except one subgroup, and they've got a 0, is it as simple as you got 600s and a 0 and it averages it? Or is it
Yes,
complicated?
pretty much. But you remember, there's a formula, and each
Sure.
level gets a point
Right.
average. So the number of level 2s that you have impacts your final score when you throw it into that formula. So it could be that, yes, you're doing great and you're growing kids, but they're only scoring level 2, so you're not
Right.
getting as many points for them, if that makes sense.
It does.
I'm going to address the closing gaps at the middle school because there's another piece to it as well. So,
Okay, gotcha. All right, thank you. I still do want to look at, and Dr. Schultz, we talked about this a few times, but maybe the next meeting, if you have the information, and maybe if you've sent it, and I may have just missed it, but I do want to look at like our subgroups and the changes we've had. I mean, you made a comment, we've talked about that for a little while now, we've had an influx in some different subgroups, so let's look at it in black and white, and let's see where those changes are by school if we can. Thank you.
at the middle school level, we made some of the same comparisons that we made at the elementary level, so hopefully this is easy for you to follow. We tried to make that 2019, the pre-COVID, versus the 2024 comparison. We also wanted to look at how we did compared to 2023, so how we did the previous year. And then where does Glynn County stack up in terms of the state averages and the RESA? And so at the middle school level, we see that out of the 4 areas, for us, the overall progress and readiness, we're ahead of 2019. But when we look at the previous year, it's 3 out of the 4 areas that were ahead. Content mastery, progress, and readiness. And to your point, Mr. Halsey, you'd notice closing gaps isn't there, and I'm gonna kind of talk a little bit about that. When we look specifically at content mastery, which is overall student achievement, we saw a 3.7 point increase for, from 2023 to 2024. So our student achievement results overall went up 3.7 points. For progress, we saw a 2.2 point increase, and for readiness, we saw a 1.2 point increase. When we look at the RESA, 3 out of the 4 areas that are factors, categories for CCRPI, we're in the top 5 in the RESA, so we feel like we're doing pretty well there. This next chart, you'll see you'll see the decrease in closing gaps. You'll see from 2023, we went from 68.1 to 2024, we went to 46. So we started to have some discussion about why did that happen. I would say we focused on last year a lot on ELA. That was one of our main goals. We want to make sure we have students reading on grade level. If they were behind coming out of elementary school, we wanted to try and play catch up during the middle school, because we know when students graduate, we want to be able to say that they're a strong reader. We feel like that's a life skill that they need to have. And so we spent a lot of time in Flex focusing on ELA. I would present to you here this evening, that work paid off. What we focused on, we saw improvements. And so when I specifically looked at ELA, our score was 69.17 versus 68. We saw, to your point, Mr. Halsey, in the subgroups increase in ELA, so our students with disabilities, they went up. Our economically disadvantaged subgroup, we saw improvements there. What that closing gap score doesn't have is our math achievement. 2023-2024 was the onset of the new math standards. And so when you talk about closing gaps, they didn't want to compare apples to oranges. It was a standard setting year. So when they factored and computed closing gaps, they factored it using the other 3 major subject areas, ELA, science, and social studies. So Glynn County Schools did not reap the benefits, so to speak, of including the math scores in our closing gaps, which is why we think some of that decrease occurred. When you look at this next slide, and we look specifically at content mastery, you're going to see on the far right, math was one of the strongest areas for performance at the middle school level. You see 4 out of 4 middle schools all improved there. And none of that was factored into our closing gap score. When we looked at our ELA, again, approximately 47% of our students are achieving a level 3 or a level 4 on the milestones assessment, so that's almost half of our students. And approximately 45% of our students are at that same level 3 or 4 on the math assessment.
Before we go, can I ask one question about the middle school closing gap? So I hear what you're saying. The first question I have, and I should remember this, but you can be in multiple subgroups, right?
Correct.
So, but does your score count in each subgroup, or do you have a primary subgroup?
You count in each of those.
Okay, count each one. So how do you explain, and I don't want to take anything away from like Risley, because the teachers work just as hard and admin works just as hard as everybody else, but how do you explain like such a gap in between one school out of the 4? Does that make sense? Is it something as simple as not having a subgroup? If it's that simple, then if that's the answer, then that's fine, but, I mean, we've got like 70-point difference in some schools.
I would say
We've
it
got
was
big
very
gaps within our
intentional.
schools.
It was very intentional what Risley did with some subgroups. So we provided
What does that
additional
mean? What's
services.
intentional mean?
Well, we provided additional services during Flex for our English language learner subgroup.
Okay.
And so we know that some of those students count in that subgroup, but they will count in some of the racial demographics, and they may
Sure.
be economically disadvantaged.
Right.
So we made sure those students got an additional 45 minutes of support every single day, so that, because we knew that they would count in multiple areas. So to your point, what we see at Risley is we see huge gains.
Right.
From 2019 to 2024, you see that 41-point increase, and then from 2023 to 2024, you see almost a 68-point increase. Risley was the middle school that had 100 in closing gaps. I know we did show the bubble charts, which deal with progress at the elementary level. We also wanted to show those at the middle school level. So as Ms. Miller previously mentioned, that vertical line represents growth. So you want to be to the right of that. The horizontal line represents achievement. You can see at the middle school level, all 4 middle schools are above that horizontal line. So we're in the higher growth, higher achievement section. We are working to move to the right because we want to also have students in that higher growth area. So if you look from ELA to math, you see that 2 middle schools, Glynn Middle and Needwood Middle School, kind of move farther to the right. So there was a higher amount of growth from ELA to math. Any questions on the middle school? Because then I want to go to the high school. Okay, all right. So the high school is, I mean, this is a trophy year. I don't know how else to say it. So when we start to look at those same comparisons, we start to see from 2019 to 2024, the high school made improvements or ahead of, in all 5 areas, we're ahead from year to year. So you can see the overall scores increased at Brunswick High, 3.9 points, and at Glenn Academy, 8.3 points. When we look at 2023 to 2024, we see 4 out of 5 areas ahead. The only place that we're not ahead is progress, and it is 1/10 of a point down. Okay? When we look at our state averages in those areas, we are 12.9 points above the state average. When we look at DeRisa, we are in the top 3 in all 5 categories. So when I say trophy year, there's a lot to celebrate there, I feel like. The chart here just shows the numbers, so year by year, you can kind of see that, which is what we kind of just talked about. When we look specifically at the content for the high school, for content mastery, it's kind of the same script. When we look at 2019 to 2024, Brunswick High is 0.4 of a point away from where they were pre-COVID. So when we say very close, I think that's safe to say. When we look at 2023 to 2024, so previous year, both high schools saw increases in their overall content mastery. And as you can see, we are well above the state average in content mastery as well. These are the individual subject areas. So just a couple data points that aren't on the slide. In American Lit, which is ELA, 56% of our students are achieving a level 3 or higher. In science, which is biology, 69.6% of our students are level 3 or higher. And then social studies, which is U.S. history, 74% of our students are level 3 or higher. So not only are students walking across the stage, but they are getting it done on the state assessments. Closing gaps. I could have hit the copy and paste here, and that copy and paste is both schools are ahead. As you can see, either both schools have increased from 2019 to 2024 or 2023 to 2024. Well ahead of the state average in both closing gaps and progress. And then graduation rate. I think graduation rate is something that's been celebrated by the school district, 98.1, which is, we know, the highest in Glynn County Schools history. Just so you know this evening, Glynn County ranks number 9 in the state out of 180 school districts for graduation rate. So that's pretty impressive. You can see the data going from 2019 to 2024, and you continue to see increases all along. We are at the point where we are down to single digits number of students that, are not walking across the stage. So we combine all of this data, and as we mentioned earlier, we used the state formula, and we thought it was important here this evening to calculate an overall district score. And so when you look at that overall district score, you can see that we are 1.5 points higher than 2019. We are 2.2 points higher than last year. We are number 3 in the RISA. We are right behind Bryan and Effingham County. We are higher than Camden County, although they are not part of the RISA. We are higher than Camden.
They're about to be, so we're adding them back in.
And they are. And overall, we are 6.5 points higher than the state. So that brings us to the last slide. And if you look at the history here, you can see from 2012 going to 2024, you can see that we have steadily increased. 85.2 is the highest overall score in Glynn County schools. And so we are extremely happy that at this point, there are no Glynn County schools that are listed in any state Department of Education needs improvement list. So that's something certainly to celebrate. The overall score of 85.2 is a celebration of the hard work that our teachers, our students, our leaders, and you guys have done to work towards this point. And I think there's a lot to be proud of there this evening.
I agree. Thank you for all the information. It's a lot to digest, especially for those of us that don't look at it every day. But I know, you spent a lot of time putting the numbers together. Is there anything that you're seeing in the numbers that you're already starting to think maybe this is where we go from here type thing? Any big
We actually
overarching thoughts?
started discussing our budgets for next year, believe it or not. We've started talks with Ms. Cody and Ms. Seals as far as what support for schools will look like next year, and really trying to hone in on those schools that struggle so that we can provide additional support at all levels in those schools. So hoping that we can do that with our new budget projections when they're coming out. We're shifting around some things to hopefully make that work.
I would add that I think that what we're seeing is the teacher, there is no replacement for the classroom teacher. They are the biggest difference maker. And during COVID, we had students that got very comfortable working in Google Classroom and doing a lot of work on the computer, whether it mean working through different software and whatnot. And what we're finding is we need to shift some of that responsibility back to our classroom teachers, because that's where we get our biggest bang for the buck. So we are working with our leaders and our teachers to make sure that our direct instruction is following our GMET's instructional framework.
Great. Thank y'all again.
So I agree 100% with, and I think, and I know that y'all have looked at this, obviously, I'm not telling you anything you don't already know, but, there is no substitute for a classroom teacher. We've always done that. We would love for our class sizes to be as small as they could possibly be. But before we go looking at the budget, we need to look at what Risley's doing, what this school's doing, because, I know you try to give principals a lot of autonomy with regard to flex time and that sort of thing. Everybody has something different, but if something's working at Risley or Needwood or Glenn or wherever, then I think before we go spend money, we need to say, okay, take your teachers and do this with the flex time.
Yep.
They just had a huge gain. They're 70 points ahead of some schools. And that's not just to pick on Risley or pick on anybody else, but it is a huge gain. So before we just start trying to add teachers or whatever, I know that's not what you're doing, but we look at what the schools are doing best practice-wise with the resources we have. Because we do have a lot of resources already, and try to make that work within the framework that we have, probably.
Absolutely.
See what we have internally we can do best practice-wise.
Sure.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All right. Let's move on to Mr. Blackerby and his information.
we'll jump into the project update, starting with our E-Splosh projects. Starting E-Splosh 3, we currently only have one thing underway with that, and that's our classroom camera installation at the high schools, which are now complete. Glynn Academy was the final one that we need to get up and running, and they are complete, and all the cameras are operational and in use. And as we move through the agenda later, you'll see we do have a proposal for the middle school cameras next, the middle school classroom cameras, which are also through E-Splosh 3. With E-Splosh 4, the St. Simon's Elementary, we're still tying up some loose ends there. The playground was installed back around Thanksgiving. We have that in place, and over the past couple of weeks, our in-house crew, our Glynn County maintenance crew, has been working on installing the irrigation so that we can get a sod down and get the landscaping cleaned up around the school, both around the track area and on the Ocean Boulevard side. So that'll be coming over the next few months. We'll be working towards getting that completed. And at also E-Splosh 4 is the Brunswick High driveway that we worked on throughout the summer. The awning, we now officially do have an arrival date of that, which is January 7th, and we have a crew scheduled to start the installation of that January 7th. It'll take 4 to 5 days, probably, depending on weather, to get that completed. So as we roll into the new year, the awning will be in place at the new Brunswick High bus drop-off. As far as local capital outlay funded projects, one being the Board of Education building renovation. As of this week, we have occupied Wing 2, and we have moved, as you noted, the front entrance is now at Wing 2 because we are going to be blocking off Wing 3 so we can start to work on that on Monday morning. We've already started some of the demolition and removal of things over there, but that will begin on Monday. And obviously, the parking lot is under major construction at this point. That's going to proceed all the way through the Christmas holidays, and hopefully as we approach the new year, we'll be getting it, getting that wrapped up, but it'll extend on into January. So be some inconveniences there, but staff's been very patient as we've shuffled them around throughout the parking lot and the driveway over the past few weeks. Also, I forgot one of that E-Splosh 4, the open gate, the weapons detection systems, those have arrived. We do have them stored in our warehouse. We're now waiting on the training for those, which is also scheduled to start when we come back after the holidays. January 8th and 9th is the training for our SROs on that, and so those will be rolling out in next semester as well. And back to local capital outlay, the Brunswick High Fieldhouse addition. We are undergoing the site work there now, moving the geothermal lines, which has been quite an undertaking because some of the valves that we need to access are underneath the new turf field, so we've had to coordinate with DEM, the turf field. We do have a good start on that, and next week when the students are not in classes, we'll be able to turn those valves off so we can shut the air conditioning system down so we can relocate the piping that we need to start the foundations for the field house addition. Any questions on the projects?
Dr. Spence, that text you sent out about the ACT, did they get all that squared away? Is everybody rescheduled, or they're gonna be compensated?
They're gonna individually reschedule each student.
Okay.
Some of the students actually completed it.
Okay.
So it had to be an individual basis.
Gotcha.
And so ACT is gonna contact each student, let them know, and then they'll contact the teacher at Glynn Academy who's in charge.
Are they giving them credit as far as
Yeah.
financially, or do we need to try to help out? with
It's
some
not gonna
students?
cost them any
Okay.
additional
All
thing.
right.
And if it does, we will take care of it. 'Cause that was our problem, not theirs.
Gotcha, no, I understand, thank you.
And with that, unfortunately, I mean, we had no idea how long it was going to take to repair it. I believe it was only down for 10 or 15 minutes. Probably by the time we were able to get the message out, it was restored. But we had no way of knowing that at the time. And that was part of the relocation
Yeah.
of fiber for the.
There's a big hole back there, for sure.
We have a lot of big holes back there. Yes, we do. Moving to the good report, in addition to the project update, this is our monthly receipt. Yes, we are done with our East Plus 4 collections, but this is just some residual collections that are just being filed. And so we had 85,806 come in November disbursement that was reported out to us. So there may be a few more as we roll into next month as businesses do file their taxes. Any questions on the good report?
I wonder how long those taxes will continue to roll in, because you know that when Andrea was here, we still fought this, like we were curious about how many people are late. Some people don't pay their sales tax on time. I just wonder if we'll continue to see that for a few more months, if not
My
a year.
understanding, my understanding is it'll trickle in over
Trickle
the
in.
next few months.
Okay.
Correct. Next item is technology surplus. We are asking to surplus 400 plus switches. We have the new switches that are already here and purchased. We're just installing them along and along. As we do that, we're going to collect them and auction those off, reap some of the proceeds off of that. Next item is the Golden Isles Parkway site application. This is the application to have the Georgia Department of Ed approve the Golden Isles Parkway site, which is the replacement site for Glendale Elementary, to have it officially approved as a school site. In order to do that, we have to do several different things, one being a risk hazard analysis and environmental study, which I do have the study we conducted if any of you want the study. It essentially, the 162 pages say that we have no areas that need to be mitigated at the site, and it is okay to be a school site. We just have to get it signed off on, and the DOE approved that so we can proceed.
Jerry and Marcus want to stay here as long as possible tonight, so go through everything.
Get through it.
Okay, so the next is, the recommendation is to please approve the purchase of 30 Officer Safety 10 Plan Plus bundles in the amount of $555,358.68. The Officer Safety Plan 10 Plus makes the most of connected mission-critical technologies. The bundle includes the hardware, a 5-year software license, and the training to equip our SROs with body cameras. The quote is provided by Axon Enterprises through the Omni contract, and this would be funded using East Blast 4 funds.
Any questions? All right. Back to Mr. Blackerby.
Two more. As I previously mentioned, we now have a quote and a recommendation to approve the purchase of classroom cameras for all 4 middle schools from Cloud 12, which was the same provider that have done the high school cameras, and this is through the TIPS contract, and the total cost for the middle school cameras is $638,625. And again, this will be for all 4 middle schools, all the classrooms. And if approved, we'll work in reverse alphabetical order for the installation, so Risley being the first school. And if approved, we intend on starting early in second semester with the installation. We've already surveyed the buildings and feel like we have everything accounted for that we need to begin the installation. And one more purchase. Through the general fund, we're asking to purchase 10 school buses, which 4 of those would be lift buses with wheelchair lifts on them, 6 being just regular 72 passenger buses. These are propane buses, like the last bus we purchased. We purchased one propane bus last year, basically to see how it worked, and if we liked it, it's worked flawlessly from the words of our mechanics. They are very pleased with it, and their recommendation is that we proceed with additional propane buses with our purchases. It basically has been very low maintenance. The propane buses, as opposed to the diesel, require a lot less filter changes. They don't have to fill them with DEF. The fuel cost overall, diesel fuel costs more per gallon than the propane does. The diesel bus gets more miles per gallon than the propane, but the cost difference is we're seeing about a 25% decrease in fuel cost when you compare the mileage and the cost of the fuel. Also, just in general, in oil changes, and the diesel buses require 21 quarts of oil, while the propane requires 7 quarts of oil. So just those little things such as that add up to the cost savings. The cost of the purchase price of the bus, the propane bus costs about $10,000 to $12,000 more. The propane bus costs more than the diesel bus. However, as you can see on the attachment there, we do have an alternative fuel rebate of $12,000 per bus, which brings the cost of the propane bus down to essentially the same cost as the diesel bus. We also have some FY22 school bus funds, bond funds, that are remaining unspent in the amount of $440,550 that we will be reimbursed after the purchase of the bus. So the total purchase cost is $1,692,500, but after the rebates and the reimbursement, we would be spending $1,131,950.
Any questions concerning the bus purchase? Ms. Haywood with board policy.
Good evening. So we are proposing, should your pleasure be to approve the purchase of the body cams, to add it as a part of the JG1 policy that was approved in August, to cover those cameras, to not be subject to open records requests, as well as them fall into the same category of our video surveillance with this policy, that they can only be viewed under a court subpoena or as a part of a disciplinary hearing. So we're asking the board to consider this revision to the current video surveillance policy.
So that will sit on the table
Yes, ma'am, if that be your pleasure.
30 days.
Yes, ma'am.
Does anybody have any questions on that?
That's all I have, Ms. Ames.
All right. So we've reached the executive session portion of the agenda. I have legal, personnel, and tribunal. Anyone have any other reasons? If not, I'll entertain a motion to enter into executive session for legal, personnel, and tribunal. Motion by Ms. Gibbons.
Second.
And a second by Dr. Yergin. All those in favor of entering into executive session? It is unanimous at 5:38.
Just to let
Thank you, Mr. Edgy. We have Mr. Edgy with a motion to return to open session and a second by Ms. Gibbons. All those in favor of returning to open session? Everybody, all those in favor of returning? Everybody. It's unanimous at 6:16. Thank you. So, yes. So I'll entertain a motion to adjourn our work session for tonight. Motion by
Second.
Ms. Gibbons and a second by Mr. Wiltie. All those in favor of adjourning the work session? It is unanimous at 6:17. Dear Lord, thank you for the time that we have together tonight. I pray that you'll guide us in our words and our deeds. I pray that the peace and comfort of our holiday season will extend with us through the remainder of this year and into next. I pray for the teachers, the students, the staff, and all those involved in our district that they enjoy a relaxing time over the holidays and they come back to us ready to learn and eager to progress in their learning. Thank you for all your blessings that you bestow upon our community. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. We have Ms. Dozier making her way to the podium, so we will get started with our spotlight feature.
Right. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
I'm excited to introduce Lily Roberts, a junior at Glynn Academy and the driving force behind the Golden Owls Government Immersion Day. This educational initiative allows high school students to shadow city and county officials and gain firsthand experience in the various roles that keep our community running smoothly. Lily started this program last year with 8 students from GA and a handful of officials. Thanks to her hard work, it has grown to include 21 students from 3 schools and over 24 officials. Please join me in welcoming Lily to share more about this amazing program and how it's helping students learn more about our local government in a hands-on way.
Well, good evening, board members. As Ms. Dozier introduced me, my name is Lily Roberts, and I'm a junior at Glynn Academy. 2 years ago, I was able to participate in the Chamber of Commerce's Youth Leadership Program, where I was able to learn about our local economy and businesses in the community. I thoroughly enjoyed this, but I wanted to know more about our local government. I talked to my friends and teachers and found that there was not an existing opportunity to learn about our local government. But one of my former teachers had a suggestion. She grew up in Virginia, and her high school had a program where students shadowed local government officials for a day. And after hearing about this, it stuck with me for weeks. And I knew that it was the exact type of program that a close, tight-knit community like Glynn County would benefit from. And I knew that our high school students would love it. So I talked with my principal, Mr. Blackstone, and reached out to the city and county communications officers, and from that, the Golden Owls Government Immersion Day was born. Students must apply to participate in this program and be in good standing both academically and in their behaviors. Selected students begin the day at a meet and greet with participating city and county officials at Glynn Academy. Students then spend half the day shadowing a city official and the other half a day shadowing a county official. Participating officials include the city and county managers and assistant managers, officials from human resources, housing development, public relations, emergency management, the police department, and the fire department. Students are provided with a list of questions designed to promote discussions and learning throughout the day. And thanks to generous donations from Grandy's, Palm Coast, and CJ's, all participants enjoy breakfast at the meet and greet at Glynn Academy and lunch together in between their times with the city and county officials. So our first year started with only 9 Glynn Academy students. But every city and county official that participated was so exuberant, and I know that I speak for every student that participated when I say we learned so much. This year, we wanted the Immersion Day to become something bigger than just Glynn Academy, as this program was established to become a community event. We reached out to our neighbors down the street and football rivals, Brunswick High School, and while we may be rivals on the field, within the local community, we were able to come together and learn a variety of things about our county and city governments. Also including students from Heritage Christian Academy, the Golden Owls Government Immersion Day had 21 students this year. The number of city and county officials who participated also grew from 19 last year to 34 this year. As we look forward to the next year's Government Immersion Day and plan for an increased number of participants from 3 high schools who joined us this year, we have also had interest expressed by Frederica Academy, and we are so excited to keep expanding. My goal for this program, however, is not limited to simply one day of student participation. With the growing interest and community involvement sparked by this program, we were able to reestablish the Civic Engagement Club at Glynn Academy this year. Through this, students are plugging into opportunities with the city and county officials whom they met through Government Immersion Day. Students have held voter registration drives, volunteered at voter information centers in downtown Brunswick's First Friday events, and helped the county's annual tree lighting on St. Simon's. It is my goal for the Golden Owls Immersion Day to continue to grow as a shadowing opportunity in Glynn County high schools for students each year. But even more so, I hope that the passion for civic engagement that this program sparks in students will also continue to grow. My hope is that the partnerships between students and government officials within our community will also grow, and tomorrow's leaders will continue to learn from the leaders of today. Thank you so much for this opportunity to share information about my project with you. Thank you.
Lily, thank you. Yeah, Lily, thank you for being with us tonight. I love seeing opportunities and experiences that you gain outside the classroom and how that helps you grow and learn. And I love too that it began with a wonder what if kind of moment, and you took that further, and you see how it's grown now. So thank you for being a leader in that area.
Thank you, Lily. Next up, we have the Georgia Council of Teachers of Mathematics, and this will be presented by Mrs. Seals.
Good evening. At the 65th Annual Georgia Mathematics Conference hosted by the Georgia Council of Teachers of Mathematics at Rock Eagle, 2 teachers received awards recognizing their contributions to mathematics education, and we're so excited that they are from Glynn County Schools. First up will be Miss Amelia Hendricks. She was awarded the Teacher of Promise Award. The Georgia Council of Teachers of Math recognizes one outstanding new teacher or staff member in the state each year who has no more than 3 years of experience at the time of the nomination and who demonstrates qualities of excellence in the teaching of mathematics. In her application, it was noted that Ms. Hendricks is an outstanding educator who embodies the qualities of a dedicated, innovative, and student-centered teacher. Congratulations. Ms. Hendricks, would you have anything to say to our board tonight? Next, Mr. Eric Stubing was awarded the Excellence in the Teaching of Mathematics Award for middle grades mathematics. This award is given to excellent teachers with at least 3 years of Georgia experience who have a strong content foundation in mathematics, appropriate for their teaching level, show evidence of growth in the teaching of mathematics, and show evidence of professional involvement in the Georgia Council of Teachers of Math and the National Council of Teachers of Math. In his application, it was stated that Mr. Stubing's unwavering passion for education, coupled with his exceptional teaching abilities and commitment to student growth, make him a deserving candidate whose impact will continue to flourish for years to come. Mr. Stubing, would you have anything to say? Thank you.
Congratulations to both of them.
Yeah.
We would like to thank Ms. Vicki Bumgardner for her encouragement and assistance with the application process for these awards. We couldn't let this go by without saying thank you, Ms. Bumgardner. So thank you and congratulations to the 2 teachers and their schools. Congratulations.
So last but not least, we have 2 board members who will be leaving us tonight. and this is your last meeting. I know that you wish you could be back in January, but unfortunately, you're not, because there are two new candidates there that have taken your place. Although we have had Mr. Mansell, Mr. Edgy, although we've had a few disagreements during the past 5 years, the two of you have been very supportive of me, the school system, our teachers, and all of our employees, especially our students. When I speak to other superintendents around the state, they tell me horror stories about dealing with Board of Education members. Sometimes it can be disheartening. Many of them tell me about personal agendas and revenge motives that their board members have, and they have to deal with them on a daily basis. However, when I tell them about the Glynn County Board of Education, they become jealous and find my story almost unbelievable. I tell them about the board that works hard to make the best possible school system for our students and all of our stakeholders. Not just for them personally or for their group of friends, but for all of our kids, regardless of their address, regardless of their color, regardless of their age, regardless of their station in life. Two of you are attending your last board meeting tonight, and the two of you are a major part of the reason why I can deliver such positive information to all of my friends that are superintendents. I want to take a moment to read an excerpt from 2 letters that Miss Kathy Pittman gave me this morning.
Oh, Lord.
Miss Pittman was a teacher for Jerry Mansell at Risley Middle and Brunswick High School, and for Marcus Edgy at Brunswick. Jerry, I wish I could be here in person to deliver my message, but I'm attending my granddaughter's Christmas program. Both of you need to ask her why she's attending that program. It is a great story. I don't feel comfortable telling it tonight. I remember the day you told me that you were going to run for the school board and heard myself encouraging you to do so, while at the same time thinking that you had lost your mind. Why would anybody want to sit in long meetings and listen to people complain all the time? We are all fortunate for all the years that you have served on the school board. As your former teacher, I seriously doubt that you remember a single thing that I taught you in social studies. But somehow you learned the most important lesson that I had to teach. That lesson is that serving your community is the highest calling of a citizen. I'm so very, very proud of you and what you have accomplished as a board member and a citizen of Glynn County. Your contributions to this county are visible and will continue long into the future. Congratulations on a job well done. Your former teacher, Miss Kathy Pittman. Marcus, I hope you didn't think that I was going to let this occasion pass without talking about you. You were such a joy to have in class. I don't remember a time when you were not smiling and having a good time. Fast forward to the night, and what has changed? I still see the sense of fun in you. At the last board meeting I attended, you were getting your picture made with a group of students being honored from Glynn Academy, and you were holding up bunny ears behind their heads. In all seriousness, as your former teacher, I am extremely proud of all that you have accomplished as a member of the school board and a member of our community. You support the students, parents, teachers, and our community stakeholders will not be forgotten. You have made an indelible impact on our schools and our community. Thank you for your service, and congratulations on a job well done. Your former teacher, Miss Kathy Pittman. In closing, while I've known each of you for many years, I never really got a chance to know who you really are, what moral values and beliefs you hold true to your heart. The past 5 years has given me an opportunity to understand you and get to know you better, and now to be able to call each of you my friend. Both of you will be missed, and I congratulate you on your service to our community. To Marcus Edgy, we thank you for your 8 years of service to the board, our stakeholders, and community. To Jerry Mansell, we thank you for 16 years of service to this board, our stakeholders, and our community. Please join me in congratulating both of these fine board members. They're going to talk too, they just don't know it. Found you, tell me.
I'll tell you that story in a minute.
Oh, this is the letter. There's more to that letter, but I just read parts of it. Appreciate it. First, thank you, Ms. Pittman. Sorry you couldn't be here.
8 years have gone by pretty quick. Whenever I ran, I wanted to unify the board. That was kind of my thing. We've had a great board. I've been lucky. We agree to disagree, even with the superintendent or amongst board members, we move on. We get behind one another, and that's what it's all about. First of all, thanks to my wife, because she gets more calls than I get, and she's kind of the filter that gets to me, so that's true. Thanks to my kids for being here. Thank all of y'all. Thanks to the community. Love y'all. And my mama's here. She gave birth to me, so. Love you. All right, anyway, well, thank y'all so much. Scott, thank you for the kind words, and appreciate it.
Mr. Mansell, please.
Yeah, 16 years is quite some time, and there's so many people that I'd like to thank, but I'd miss somebody or whatnot, but just starting out a long, long time ago, Admiral Millard Allen, he took us under his wing and kind of taught us what we should do, what we shouldn't do. We've been through a lot, ups and downs, the COVID situation, with this group that's sitting here, this group that's sitting up here, Dr. Spence for taking care of us and actually pushing us through that moment was probably one of the most trying times of my career anyway, as far as on the school board and probably the school system in general. But we persevered, and I don't know if you guys were able to see, and we'll probably go over some of the notes tonight during the work session of where we came from that time to where we are now. And it's a testament of the true hard work to the entire system, the teachers, the students, just like I said, pushing through and actually getting things done. But Ms. Pittman, she's always been a staunch supporter of mine, and I looked up to her coming up. She's always been, right there with me to help. Goodness gracious. Ms. Sunghi Lewis, she was a big proponent of mine and also helped us with the school system. And I'd like to take a second to thank her. My wife, obviously the aggravation that I've created, going through all this stuff. My kids, they're a product of the school system, and without, the folks that's in this room, Mr. Stubing, taught two of them. He didn't teach you, did he, Jackson? But he did teach the twins, and great experiences with him. We do appreciate you. Congratulations to both of you guys and for your honor. Like I said, just so many relations that I've had with all this group, the group before you guys will be here. I mean, we're not going anywhere. We'll be a phone call away or whatnot. I could talk for hours, but I won't. But thank you so much for the presentation, and good luck. Mike, thanks for being such a good partner and friendship growing up, and also on the board, and good luck to you guys, and we look forward to many, many years of continued growth and continued success. So thank you very much to all of y'all. We appreciate it.
Well, while y'all are making your way to your seats, just personally, and I'm sure the board, the remainder of the board shares the sentiment too. We appreciate your leadership, your guidance, your support. Marcus, you were 2 years ahead of me coming into this, but you seemed like a seasoned pro when I got here. And of course, I knew Jerry had been around a while, and he was always available to explain the nuances and how you navigate this journey. So I know I appreciate y'all as well, and all that you've put into the kids in Glynn County.
Two things I did want to say. One, to Miss Susan Lee and Mr. Jeff Dodgson, congratulations, first of all. But secondly, there is no negative thought that I could have for you guys moving forward. You're going to take us to another level, and I don't think that there would be any problems with that whatsoever. And I'm always here for you if you do need anything. But I know for a fact that you guys are in this role for a reason. Your hearts are in the right spot, and I'm looking forward to seeing what you guys do and moving forward. So congratulations to both of you, and please continue the good work that I know you will. The second thing was, and last, everybody's probably looking at my tie thinking that I'm a goofball or whatnot, but I want to embarrass my daughter real quick because, believe it or not, she purchased this for me at Satilla Marsh at the Santa's Workshop 16 years ago, and she always made me wear it to our December meeting. And I have always worn it for 16 years to this meeting of the last meeting of the month, or the last meeting of the year. So, thank you, baby, I love you. So I wanted to explain that. So, thank y'all very much for the stuff and the honor. And again, to Marcus's point, I did not thank the citizens of Glynn County to allow me to be in this position for 16 years. And it's been an honor and a privilege, and I certainly do appreciate it. So thank you very much.
I'll say a few words to Sam,
Sure.
if I can get through
No,
it. But
go
I wish that I had, y'all seen the pictures of the president before, right at inauguration?
I'm
And you
glad
see
we
a
don't.
picture of him, 4 to 8 years later, Marcus has got a little bit of gray. Jerry's got a few less hair. He didn't have a lot to start with. He didn't have a lot of work with to start with, but, you know, and including Dr. Jurgen, we've known each other, you know, a long time. And, we're friends before we became colleagues, and I couldn't think of two people I'd rather do this with more than you two. You'll be missed. We're losing 50% of the four horsemen. We had a lot of great times. We traveled to Atlanta and conferences together a lot. We did talk business a little bit on the way on our trips, but it is a tough job. And I'd like to thank your families again too. I've known them a long time, and it's something special to see your kids graduate, to hand them a diploma, to hug them as they walk across the stage. Is something very, very special you'll never forget. I know you won't. It's toughest on your families for sure. I know what you guys have been through. And so we appreciate you being supportive, and especially the kids. I know it's not easy having your parents be there. And I had a double dose. My dad was my principal, so whenever something happened that Derek did, you know, I was the bad guy too. But we're gonna miss you. We wish there was, you know, I don't want to go back to 10 members again. That was crazy. But wish we could have you guys on forever. But you'll always be in our hearts, and you'll always have a place here, of course. And I mean, 16 years and 8 years is a long time. You should be proud of that. And you'll really be missed. I promise that when I write my memoirs, I'll redact your names or come up with some sort of slick name that nobody will know. But I wish I could tell you guys some of the stories, because there are some good ones. And you all have put us through some stuff. Not necessarily made this room, but we've had some interesting times together. But we've always, I mean, these two care more about the kids of this county. They put all the kids and teachers right there with their own families and with their own children, and that's really what this job takes. And so we appreciate your service. And again, if everyone can be like you guys, and I have a tremendous faith in the two oncoming board members. Because trust me, Jerry and I think Marcus both have tried to get people to run before. And it's really hard. People are like, I'm gonna do that. They'll talk a good game, but it's tough to find somebody. It is not your job to give away, and I understand. I think we all understand it. It belongs to the people of Glynn County. But it's hard when the rubber meets the road to get people to run. So the fact that you guys stepped up like you did, especially Jerry, when you came on, it was still not the greatest place to be in the world. So we still had some issues. So we love you guys. If you ever need me for anything, please let me know. Okay. Thank y'all.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Good luck, John. Keep it rolling.
Thank you.
All right. Well, to continue on in your final meeting, the citizens address the board portion of the agenda. We did not have anyone sign up for that. So we'll move on to the approval of the agenda. I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda as it's presented here.
So move.
Second.
And that's a motion by Mr. Halsey and a second by Mr. Edgy. All those in favor of approving tonight's agenda? It's unanimous. All right. Regarding the consent agenda, I'll add these items. Number 7, approval of the November 2024 meeting minutes. Number 8A, approval of personnel. Number 8B, field trips. 8C1, the GOOD report. 8D1, approval of the October 2024 financials. 8D2, approval of the Cloud 12 classroom camera purchase. 8D4, approval of technology surplus. 8D5, approval of the Golden Isles Parkway site application. 8D6, approval of the SRO body cameras. And as far as policy, we will have, we introduced a policy update in our work session that we will have sit on the table for 30 days. So those are the agenda items to include in the consent agenda. All of these topics were discussed in our work session just previously. And with that, does anyone have any discussion, comments, questions before we approve the consent agenda?
Move we approve.
Okay. Mr. Halsey with a motion to approve tonight's consent agenda, and Ms. Gibbons with a second.
She missed her gift.
Just barely heard her. All right, all those in favor of approving tonight's consent agenda? It is unanimous. All right, so that leaves item 8D3. I believe Ms. Cody wanted to talk to us a little bit more about that item, or Mr. Blackerby, whoever wants to take that.
The funding source will be the capital outlay account instead of the general fund.
Okay, it was listed as general fund, all right. So the bus purchase that we talked about earlier, the 4 buses with a lift, and 6 propane buses, do I have that right?
10 total propane
10 total buses?
4 with a lift,
Okay,
6
okay.
just regular 72 passengers.
There we go, out of capital outlay funds. Does anyone need any more clarification or have questions on that one? Okay, I'll entertain a motion to approve the school bus purchase as was presented.
So be it.
Ms. Gibbons with a motion to approve the school bus purchase.
Second.
And a second by Mr. Halsey. All those in favor of approving the school bus purchase? It is unanimous. Okay, so to continue our marathon meeting, we're going to do a second session of our executive session, and we'll be reviewing tribunal and personnel. Don't think, oh, we do have legal. Yes, yes, okay. So again, legal, personnel, and tribunal. I'll entertain a motion to enter into executive session.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Halsey. And a second by Mr. Edgy. All those in favor of entering into executive session? It is unanimous at 6:44. I don't know what's wrong with my contacts tonight. All right, Mr. Edgy, with a
Second.
motion to return to open session,
Second.
and a second by Mr. Mansell. All those in favor of returning to open session? It is unanimous at 8:07. Yes.
Ms. Sams, I'd like to make a motion, we approve the workers' comp settlement as discussed in the executive session.
Second.
Thank you. Mr. Halsey makes a motion to approve the workers' comp settlement discussed in executive session, and Ms. Gibbons with a second. All those in favor of approving the workers' comp settlement as discussed, it's unanimous. Not quite.
Ms. Sams, I'd like to make a motion that we select Mike Blackerby as the replacement for Dr. Spence for superintendent, name him the sole finalist for superintendent of schools effective July 1, 2024.
Second.
All right, thank you, Mr. Halsey. Makes a motion to announce Mike Blackerby as sole finalist for the superintendent position effective July 1st, 2025, and a second by,
Ms. Pearl, that was a much better
Ms.
motion
Gibbons.
in my head, but I apologize for that. Sorry, Mike. She got the gist of it.
Thank you.
all right.
Did you second?
Yes, he second.
I'm keeping everybody in suspense. I'm letting her catch up.
We ready to vote? We ready?
Are we good? Okay. All right, all those in favor of naming Mike Blackerby the sole finalist for the superintendent position?
One holdout, one holdout.
Okay.
There's always gotta be one.
That is unanimous. So,
Looking at everybody.
just to let everybody know what we're looking at doing from this point, over the next couple of days, few days, we are hoping to have some information on the website. Potentially a way for people to make comment. We'll see if we can work that out. But also looking to do potentially an open house sometime after the first of the year. And we will just put all information regarding those activities on the website and potentially maybe social media. I don't see Ms. Dozier here, but we can work all that out to make sure everyone's informed and has an opportunity to provide input as they'd like. Anybody want to add anything?
Are you excited?
Sure, thank you.
And we're required by law to wait 14
Yes.
days before making a decision, and so it'll be 14 days for our next meeting anyway, so we'll be covered there.
Right, right.
Show some love.
Would anybody else like to?
Merry Christmas, everybody. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Merry Christmas.
Congratulations.
Yep, very good.
Congratulations. Thank you for your presence.
I'm honored, I appreciate the opportunity. Thank you.
We'll look forward to it.
If we have the reception here, you gotta get this parking lot finished before.
Could be a contingency.
There's a lot hinging on this contract. The parking lot.
By the 7th.
All right.
Okay.
Well, Ms. Sams, with that, I guess I will move to close this meeting out.
Okay.
Ms. Sams, with that being said, thank you guys again for everything. It's been a wonderful time, wonderful trip. Mike, congratulations. I know you'll do a wonderful job. Dr. Spence, appreciate everything you've done for us. And I will second that motion.
Okay, so for the final time, we have a motion by Mr. Edgy to adjourn tonight's meeting and a second by Mr. Mansell. All right, all those in favor of adjourning tonight's meeting?
Did a sermon, Chair.
You're not gonna vote? Oh, he's not letting it happen. We're just gonna keep sitting here. All right, it's unanimous at 8:10.
Thank you.